Emotional abuse is a sneaky predator, often masquerading as love or concern. It may start subtly, but its effects are anything but benign. The truth is that emotional abuse goes beyond hurt feelings or harsh words. It is a systematic attack on self-worth, designed to control and manipulate. This kind of psychological harm is insidious and can literally change how someone thinks, feels, and perceives the world around them. When we think about emotional abuse, our minds often jump straight to the psychological scars it leaves behind. We talk about the heartache, the feelings of worthlessness, and the unending cycle of anxiety. But what if we told you that emotional abuse doesn't just wreak havoc on your mind? It also changes the very structure of your brain, leading to long-term consequences that you might not even be aware of. Let's dive into this often overlooked topic and uncover how emotional abuse physically impacts our brains. Imagine this. Chronic emotional abuse is like a constant storm raging in your mind. This storm releases a flood of stress hormones, primarily cortisol, which can wreak havoc on your brain's architecture. One of the most affected areas is the hippocampus, a vital region responsible for memory and learning. Think of the hippocampus as your brain's filing cabinet, storing all those precious memories and information you need to navigate life. But with prolonged exposure to emotional abuse, this filing cabinet can start to shrink, making it harder for you to concentrate and retain information. Have you ever had one of those days where you walk into a room and completely forget why you're there? Or maybe you've struggled to learn something new, feeling as if your brain is just too foggy to process it. That's not just a sign of a busy life. It could be linked to the emotional toll of past trauma. The shrinking hippocampus can transform learning into an uphill battle, making every new piece of information feel like an insurmountable challenge. But it doesn't stop there. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that helps you make decisions, plan for the future, and control your impulses, also takes a hit from emotional abuse. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a loop of poor decisions, wondering why you can't break free from destructive habits? Well, that's where emotional abuse comes into play. It rewires your brain, altering the way you think and make choices. You might find yourself reacting impulsively or feeling overwhelmed when faced with decisions, trapped in a cycle of confusion and pain. Many people who have experienced emotional abuse live with an overactive amygdala, the brain's very own fear center. Let's take a deep dive into how this tiny part of our brain can create a constant state of fear and anxiety in our lives, making relaxation seem like an impossible dream. The amygdala is like your brain's smoke alarm. Its job is to detect threats and trigger that all-important fight-or-flight response. It helps you react quickly in dangerous situations, ensuring your survival. But what happens when that smoke alarm goes off all the time, even when there's no fire? This is what occurs when emotional abuse leads to a hyperactive amygdala. You become trapped in a cycle of fear that can feel inescapable. Imagine living your life with the constant hum of anxiety in the background. Even in mundane situations, like walking into a room full of people or receiving constructive criticism at work, you might feel a surge of panic. This heightened sense of alertness turns everyday moments into potential threats. As a result, your mind is always racing, scanning for dangers that may not even exist. It's exhausting, and it keeps you from enjoying life to the fullest. So why does this happen? When someone experiences emotional abuse, the stress hormones in their body can keep the amygdala in overdrive. Each time you face a stressful situation, your brain remembers that response. Over time, this conditioning creates a feedback loop where the amygdala becomes increasingly sensitive. You may start overreacting to minor stressors, like a missed text or a slightly raised voice, because your brain is wired to view them as potential threats. When we think of emotional abuse, we often focus on the pain it causes and the scars it leaves behind. But let's take a moment to delve deeper into how this kind of abuse can wreak havoc on our brain chemistry, leading to depression, anxiety, and a roller coaster of emotions that can feel impossible to control. It's time to shine a light on the emotional toll of abuse and how it impacts our mental well-being. Let's talk about the brain's chemical messengers, neurotransmitters. You've probably heard of serotonin and dopamine. These little guys are like the mood regulators of your brain, helping you feel happy, motivated, and overall balanced. But emotional abuse can throw a wrench in this delicate system. When you're subjected to emotional abuse, your brain's chemistry can become completely imbalanced. You might find yourself feeling anxious, depressed, or unmotivated. Tasks that once felt manageable can suddenly seem overwhelming, leaving you stuck in a fog of despair. Cognitive dissonance is a fancy term for that uncomfortable feeling you get when you hold two contradictory beliefs at the same time. It's like your brain is caught in a tug of war. Picture this: you deeply care for someone, yet they're also hurting you. Your heart says, "I love them," while your mind screams, "This is not okay." That inner conflict can be incredibly confusing and painful. In abusive relationships, this dissonance is especially pronounced. You might feel a strong attachment to your abuser, mixed with the pain and suffering they inflict. It's a conflicting mess of emotions that your brain struggles to resolve. So, what does it do? It tries to make sense of the chaos. Unfortunately, this often leads to rationalizing the abuse or downplaying its impact, which can trap you in the relationship even longer. Trauma bonding. If you've ever found yourself caught in a toxic relationship, you might be familiar with the strange sensation of feeling deeply connected to someone who causes you pain. This is trauma bonding, and it's one of the most insidious effects of emotional abuse. The impact of emotional abuse on self-esteem and our perception of reality. Emotional abuse isn't just a mental or emotional struggle. It can drastically change how you view yourself and the world around you. So, let's break it down. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your self-worth is hanging by a thread. This is a reality for many who endure emotional abuse. Over time, the negative messages from an abuser can seep into your mind like a slow poison. They chip away at your confidence, leading to feelings of low self-esteem and self-doubt. You might start to believe that you actually deserve the hurtful words and actions thrown your way, or worse, that you're unworthy of love and respect altogether. Now, let's talk about gaslighting, a tactic that's alarmingly common in emotionally abusive relationships. Gaslighting is like a magician's trick, where your abuser manipulates your perception to the point where you doubt your own memories and feelings. Imagine being in a situation where you know something happened, but your partner insists it didn't. Over time, you might find yourself questioning what's real and what's just your imagination. That confusion? It's disorienting, to say the least. Healing takes time. It's not a quick fix, but with each step, you can start to reclaim your sense of self-worth. It's important to understand that you are not alone in this journey. Many have walked this path and emerged stronger on the other side. You deserve to feel good about yourself and to experience love and respect without condition. Imagine waking up one day and realizing you're not just surviving, but thriving. That's the ultimate goal. You can rebuild your self-esteem and reshape your perception of reality, one positive thought at a time. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comment section.